Welcome to TalkNorth.com. Thanks to our longtime producer, Brandon Morton. Please download before you listen. If you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach us at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. And please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. Two promo codes to be aware of. BiteSquad.com. Use the promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery free. And go to SodaStick.com, the great local apparel company. Use the promo code YouBetcha to get free shipping on any sized order.
A special edition of Preps Today with John Millea. Yes, we have John Millea, and yes, that's always special. Yes, it's always special, but John actually brought in a guest today. We asked thousands of people to come in, and every once in a while, somebody who doesn't really know us well says yes.
Yeah, we trick them.
So today we have Brett Carlson, and we want to thank Pizza Barn, our sponsor, Pizza Barn Princeton, pizzabarnprinceton.com. Our guest is Brett Carlson, Community Education Director from North Branch Area Public Schools. He works up in kind of the general area where my wife is also a principal, so we have some things in common. John's going to chat with him about their officials recruiting event, and we're going to talk about baseball, prep coaching, broadcasting. We're going to bring you the tweet of the week. We're going to talk about Teacher Appreciation Week, which should be every week, and we'll take a few Twitter questions as well if we have any. But John, why don't you introduce Brett further and take it from there?
Yeah, I've known Brett a long time. He's a former teacher coach, was an athletic director at North Branch and Lakeville North. Now he's a community ed guy in North Branch, doing a great job, still really heavily involved in youth and high school activities. And Brett's here to talk about officiating, and Brett, finding officials. We've got an event coming up that you're helping organize. Tell us about that.
Yeah, thanks, Jim and John, for having me on. And I'm just excited about this event, and I'll just kind of tell you the whole story.
Yeah.
My wife and I, over the winter, we're doing some financial planning and learning about some stuff, and they're talking about all the student loan debt, and there's $1.5 trillion of student debt out there. 44 million Americans are affected by it. And I'm scrolling through Twitter, and it was probably one of your tweets, John, that said, hey, we're needing an official for this fill-in-the-blank school basketball game. And I thought, I wonder if these two things could connect with each other. So I reached out to Jason at the league, and I said, hey, what do you think, Jason Nickleby, if we try to do an event that's really targeted at high school kids that are going to be going to college soon? There's lots of other folks and lots of other avenues that we need to attract officials. I hear one of the biggest areas that people are signing up to be officials is parents. Now that their kids are no longer playing, they want to sign up to be an official. But this is really targeted for kids going off to college that want to earn a little bit of income. And we're trying to sell it to kids that you can walk out of college, I don't know if I'll say debt-free, but pretty close to being debt-free.
Wow.
Yeah. The event itself will be on Tuesday, May 14th. At Tartan High School from 6:30 to 8. And it's going to be an opportunity for those kids, again, going to college that can come in and hear a little bit about how to become an official. It's the next step to, we know there's an official shortage. Here's how you become an official. I think that, going to college myself, that knowing that college schedule from, 3 to 7, that's a good time for lower level officials. We're not thinking kids or people are going to come in and do Friday Night Lights or do that, but really an opportunity to lower level and kind of work their way up and earn pretty decent income in order to do that.
Yeah, and we clearly need officials in all sports. Just today, before we started taping here a couple hours ago, there was a tweet about a boys lacrosse game between St. Michael, Albertville, and Monticello. They were supposed to play today. Yeah. No game. They couldn't find officials.
Right.
And it's getting, lacrosse has been troublesome all spring here.
Right.
And I think sometimes that has to do with everything getting rained out and rescheduled. And, now sometimes the officials you had booked for the original date, or you can't get them for the makeup date. You got to find some. And lacrosse is a growing sport. I don't think the number of officials has quite grown.
Correct.
Like it should have here. So we need officials in all sports. And is this going to be like in an auditorium? Is it going to be meet and greet? It'll
be in the cafeteria at Tartan High School with a projector. We'll walk through a PowerPoint and some slides and stuff. But going to your point, I was just talking to my college roommates, an AD outside of Madison, and he was telling me today he had to cancel a JV baseball game because he doesn't have an official. And I think that's the other thing that we're trying to communicate to kids and who we attract is that it doesn't matter if you're going to Augsburg, River Falls, University of Tennessee, University of Southern California. You knock on the AD's door at the local high school and say, I can officiate, fill in the blank. I think they'd sign you up in a hurry knowing that you're going to be there. And it is all sports, as you talk about. Yeah, there's some that are really looking. I think lacrosse is one that's really looking, and soccer's really looking. But we know it's all sports. We scroll our social media accounts and schools all the time. Doesn't matter where they are. They're all looking. So I think it's just a great opportunity. Our hope was that this model, which we're kind of, for educational term, piloting, we're piloting kind of in the Northeast Metro, will be something that we can send this PowerPoint to ADs and they can draw in kids from different regions or different parts of Minnesota. It might be something where we can send it to a college campus and they can do a quick little informational session. Just kind of, again, that next step of where do I go when I get to the league website? How do I actually become to register to be an official? And then we're going to have assigners there too that night, so they can get on right with the signers, and it'll just be a great way for people to really take that step and get signed up. They don't need to. Obviously, the more people that are there, the better. But if there's any questions, they can contact Jason at the high school league or get in touch with me. And we can help point them in the right direction.
What's the best way to get a hold of you?
The best way probably to get a hold of me is email, which is bcarlson@isd138.org. And we can have a conversation that way. I already had someone reach out, students in Winona, and wants to get connected with our program and learn how to do that. So gave them all the information that they need. That's the best way to probably get a hold of me.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, how we do hear about when varsity contests have to be changed because of no officials. But people don't really think about the JV, the freshman games, all the lower levels. That's where officials learn how to be officials.
Right.
And if somebody registers with the high school league, they're going to be working as an official right away. They're going to, in most cases, a new official is assigned a mentor, a veteran official, to just take them along and answer all their questions and work with them. So, I mean, there's definitely opportunities.
Yeah, and I think it's also really important with the high school piece. Our ADs across the state are doing a great job setting the stage for a positive experience for people. I know that a lot of stuff will surface about parents and towards officials and coaches towards officials, but we know the reality is that so many of our ADs and coaches are really great to the officials and controlling that. And John, you've done a Thank a Ref campaign for years, and it's just been wonderful. So it's really a positive experience we want people to walk into. And these are positive environments that kids and coaches are walking into. We want to keep them that way.
When I was in college, I grew up in Iowa, where high school baseball and softball are summer sports. I was an umpire for high school baseball and softball as a college job. It was great. But then there was a guy living in my dorm my first couple of years in college who was a varsity football official, and I think basketball, because I remember on a Friday night early in the school year, he's wearing stripes. Who's that guy? Where's he going? He's going to work high school football games.
Right.
Then I find out later he was also the biggest bookie on campus, too. I don't think he was taking bets. I think he wasn't taking bets on high school games. But man, I'd see people just kind of float into his dorm room, come out with their pockets a little lighter, sometimes come out with their pockets heavier.
Yeah.
But he was, I don't know whatever happened to that guy, but that was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
I just happened to see something from the North Carolina High School Association. They last week, they pay officials, I think, differently than we do in Minnesota. Here, it kind of depends on what part of the state you're in, which officials organization the pay can change. But apparently statewide in North Carolina, their board of directors down there approved a 5% yearly increase starting in a couple years here. I don't know what they make. But it just said the tweet was just, the board approved a 5% increase for officiating fees to be locked in every 4 years, beginning with the 2021 academic year, unanimously approved. So, again, I don't know what officials make. It can vary, but it's not change in your pocket. It's dollars in your pocket.
It is dollars in your pocket. And when doing kind of the research to set this thing up, just again, a snapshot. You know, we're kind of telling people it's roughly $60 per game, which works out to about $35 an hour. I mean, that's pretty good pay for a college kid, you know, to do it again during that, 3 to 7, 4 to 8 time frame when you're just watching reruns of fill in the blank TV show, right? You're not at the library doing your work, or your social activities haven't started. It just seems to really be a nice fit to make some income and get college paid for.
Yeah, I made $6 an hour at my first job. So I should have been an official, obviously.
You should have been. Yeah. We all should be.
Before we get to other subjects, do we think that the primary obstacle keeping people from officiating is lack of awareness that you can make this money? Is it not wanting to do the specific job? Is it a generation that just doesn't like this kind of employment? What do you think?
That's probably a good question for Jason at the high school league. Yeah. It might be part of all of those statements. So I think what we're trying to do, though, is really just educate people that it's not that hard. Yeah. Here's the steps you need to take. Here's how you do it. Because I think a lot of people might be aware that there's a shortage, but
what do you do about it?
Now what? Yeah. What's next? So I think that's the step that this workshop is trying to take, is that what's next? Here's what you do. Here's how we're going to connect you. Here's how you register. Here's who you need to speak with. Here's how you go and get the correct equipment or correct uniform or whatever you might need to do that. So we're just really excited about it on May 14th. Yeah.
I think college kids, that's the optimum market here. And I'm encouraged too in the last couple of years. Some high schools have started officiating classes.
Right.
You'll spend the semester, we're going to cover 5 different sports.
Yep.
And that's dynamite too. And Jason Nickleby, who you referred to, our coordinator of officials at the high school league, he's like the model for this. When he was a freshman at the University of Minnesota, he began working football games as a freshman in college. But he'd been officiating. I did find some story. I Googled his name and found a story from the Woodbury, I don't know if it's a Woodbury magazine or something. He was officiating when he was 12 years old. So there's, I think he was working, I don't even know what sport it was. It was like 16-year-olds, and he was 12. There's some pressure.
There's some
12-year-old doing that. But that's between, I think the college kids, that's the mark you want to hit here.
Yeah.
And even these schools, these high schools that are having classes in this, how great is that?
Yeah, that's awesome. And, I think for a college kid to be able to walk out debt-free or close to, that's just a game changer. I have friends in their 40s that are still paying college loans, and it just changes your world as a young adult to not have any college debt and to be able to do it or minimize it at least. I think that's a really good opportunity. And like I said in the very beginning, I think hopefully it can kind of mirror those two or mesh those two together. We need some officials, and we want kids to get out of college debt-free, and here's a way that you can do that.
That's a great idea. I love it.
And as I've tweeted this information
thank you for that.
Several times, one of the responses has always been, hey, are you going to do this in other places?
Right.
I live in Mankato, right? I'm a student at UM. Are you going to do this? And that is the plan, to make this available in some format.
Yeah, some format. And, I think sometimes geography can be the hard part to do that. If you're really outside the metro, it's quite a hike to kind of pull a conference together. Right. So that's kind of where we're testing it here. But hopefully, have a product that we can email out and somebody can get people together and have the information to spread the message. Yep. So
I'm excited. I'll be there.
All right, good.
Tuesday night, May 14th.
6:30 to 8, Tartan High School.
Which is in Oakdale.
In Oakdale, Minnesota.
So if you're in the East Metro especially, you have no excuse.
Yep, no excuse at all. And
all you college kids, the school year's getting wrapped up here, so this is something else you can do.
And we really target it towards, we didn't want to do it any earlier in March because college kids going off to college, they're not thinking about that yet. They're wrapping up even winter sports to some degree or spring sports, but so that's kind of the last 2 weeks of school there, and it's like, oh my gosh, college is real. I better figure out what I'm doing. So we got your part-time job right here, and you can walk out and change your life.
You'll make a little money. You'll stay in shape.
Yeah.
And you'll, kind of start building a second career.
Yeah.
And how many officials do we know who are in their 60s and 70s have done this forever and wouldn't have changed it?
Right. In lifelong relationships with really great people. That's always one of my favorite parts of going down to state tournaments is watching officials interact and tell stories, and it's awesome.
It's the greatest.
Yeah, it is great.
We need more of them. So.
Yes.
Good. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks, Brett.
Yeah,
You can
thank
feel
you.
free to join in the rest of the show.
Yeah, just chime in on any subject. You're more of an expert than I am.
I doubt that. You don't know me very well, Jim. I can tell that.
Well, you know who's good at thanking refs? Pizza Barn, Princeton.